One year after becoming Liv's permanent co-host, Mark Consuelos is opening up about the challenges of hosting the long-running daytime talk show alongside his wife, Kelly Ripa. Appearing on the latest episode of Reaper's Let's Talk Off Camera podcast, Consuelos reflected on his first year as co-host of the ABC series, noting how much simpler things were when he was merely an occasional guest host. Consuelos frequently stepped in for former host Ryan Seacrest when he wasn't available. However, the American Idol host exited Live last April after 6 years, paving the way for Consuelos to take a permanent seat at the table next to his wife. With greater responsibility on his plate, Consuelos admitted that he lets Ripa take the lead, especially when it comes to interviewing guests. "I still don't ask a ton of questions," he confessed. "That's not true. That's so untrue. It's in your mind," Ripa assured her husband. The Riverdale star wasn't entirely convinced, adding, "I still mess up almost every single day. I mess up something." He then joked that he waits for the audience to start clapping to cover his mistakes. "Once I had skin in the game, it became twice as challenging," Consuelos continued, referring to joining the ABC show full-time. Ripa has been hosting Live for over 22 years, first alongside the late Regis Philbin from 2001 to 2011, then with Michael Strahan from 2012 to 2016, and with Seacrest from 2017 to 2023. But her current run with Consuelos might be her last, as the longtime broadcaster contemplates retirement. "I think it's a real thing," Consuelos told Entertainment Tonight last September regarding Ripa's thoughts about stepping back. "She's been at this for 23 years. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. I know she's having a good time. I'm having a really, really good time. But at some point, yeah. And when she does decide to walk away, no one's earned it more than her." 1 year after stepping into the permanent co-host role beside Kelly Ripa, Mark Consuelos has been unusually candid about how demanding and humbling the job can be. On a recent episode of Reaper's Let's Talk Off Camera, the actor reflected on the transition from occasional guest host to full-time tablemate, admitting that the responsibilities have exposed mistakes, rattled his confidence at times, and forced him to rely on his wife's seasoned instincts. The confessional tone is partly comic and partly revealing. Consuelos jokes about botching lines and waiting for the audience's clap track to rescue him. But beneath the humor lies a serious acknowledgement that hosting a high-profile live daytime show is a craft that must be learned, not inherited. Before becoming a fixture at the Live table, Consuelos had been a familiar face on the show for years. As a skilled actor best known for roles on All My Children and Riverdale, he frequently substituted for absent co-hosts, most notably during Ryan Seacrest's tenure. Guest hosting allows a performer to step in episodically, soaking up the rhythms of a program without the full responsibility of the next morning's live show. But the dynamic changes when the cameo becomes permanent. "Once I had skin in the game, it became twice as challenging," Consuelos said. The shift created ongoing pressure to be consistently polished, prepared, and presentable on a daily basis, not merely entertaining in intermittent doses. The learning curve appeared in small recurring ways: forgetting a question, missing a beat in an interview, or misreading the tone of a segment. Those everyday mistakes, when televised live, can feel magnified. The difficulty Consuelos describes is not unique. Industry veterans have long spoken about the special demands of live television. Unlike scripted drama where retakes are standard and tempo is controlled, morning shows exist in the immediate present. Hosts must juggle teleprompters, live audience reactions, producer cues, and guests who may be nervous, unprepared, or unexpectedly candid. It's a performance genre that blends improvisatory comedy, quick thinking, and emotional intelligence to manage a wide variety of guests. For Consuelos, the challenge intensified because he was doing this alongside the woman who had been hosting for more than 22 years. Ripa brings institutional memory, instincts honed over years, and deep familiarity with the show's rhythms. Compare that to someone stepping into their first full-time morning role, and the contrast becomes a built-in pressure test. Consuelos' approach to mistakes is refreshingly self-effacing. On the podcast, he described a recurring habit of messing up almost every single day and then relying on the audience's clap track to smooth over the stumble. This candidness serves multiple purposes. First, it humanizes him. Viewers enjoy watching stars who are fallible and quick to laugh at themselves. Second, acknowledging mistakes publicly lowers the tension. If a host admits human error, fans are more likely to be forgiving. The humor also works as a strategic performance tool. Many hosts use self-deprecation to deflect criticism and make mistakes part of a show's charm. In Consuelos' case, the pattern of flubs followed by good-natured recovery creates a persona that is relatable, slightly vulnerable, and earnest, all qualities that work well on morning television. One of the most revealing moments in Consuelos' reflections was his admission that he often lets Kelly take the lead in interviews. "I still don't ask a ton of questions," he confessed. Ripa playfully countered that this self-assessment was untrue. Regardless of the exact tally, the dynamic is clear. Consuelos defers to Ripa's experience and expertise, particularly in areas she has long mastered. There's practical logic to this arrangement. Ripa has hosted morning television for more than 22 years under multiple co-host configurations, and she has a depth of institutional knowledge about which topics land, which questions yield good answers, and how to pivot when an interview goes off script. By acknowledging that expertise and letting Ripa steer, Consuelos avoids duplicative effort and creates a smoother on-air flow. It's also a sign of trust and humility. In many celebrity partnerships, ego can become a problem. Competing needs for attention, airtime, and influence can destabilize teamwork. Consuelos' willingness to step back signals a prioritization of the show's quality over personal performance metrics. Co-hosting with a spouse is both a competitive advantage and a logistical puzzle. Married co-hosts have built-in chemistry, inside jokes, and a mutual history to draw upon. That authenticity often translates to compelling television. Audiences can sense when chemistry is real versus heavily produced. But shared life and shared work can also lead to overfamiliarity. On-screen fatigue is a recognized phenomenon. When the private becomes the product, spontaneity can be lost. To keep the work fresh, Ripa and Consuelos must balance authenticity with a conscious effort to avoid repeating the same beats. Another advantage of working with a spouse is an expanded skill set. Consuelos brings acting chops and easy comic timing, while Ripa brings interviewing expertise and finely tuned show-running instincts. A successful pairing depends on understanding these complementary assets and using them intentionally. Ryan Seacrest's 6-year run alongside Ripa set a polished, contemporary tone for live, oriented toward a multi-platform media strategy. Seacrest is a seasoned host with a relentless work ethic and a particular brand of media omnipotence. When he departed in April, a vacuum opened that demanded a thoughtful successor, someone who could sustain ratings while refreshing the show's identity. Consuelos' appointment as permanent co-host signaled a different direction, a closer, more intimate co-host dynamic, and a willingness to foreground marital chemistry as part of the show's brand. That shift doesn't reflect a decline in production values, but represents a strategic reorientation toward a show that leans into the host's personal relationship as a compelling narrative. Reception has been mixed, as it often is with high-profile programming changes. Loyal fans of Seacrest may have lamented the transition, while others welcomed the move to a more domestic, conversational tone. Critics often examine such changes for both creative merit and commercial prudence. Does the pairing draw a stable audience? Does the chemistry translate to sustainable headlines, social media clips, and advertiser interest? For now, evidence suggests the Ripa-Consuelos partnership has strong appeal. Their reset has generated viral moments, renewed interest in daytime banter about family life, and a steady stream of headlines that position the show not just as an interview platform, but as a living portrait of a marriage in public. Consuelos also touched on a more consequential topic: Ripa's contemplation of retirement after more than 20 years on live television. He acknowledged that retirement is real for Ripa, and while it may not be imminent, the thought has been present. That raises longer-term questions about the future of live and Consuelos' own role. If Ripa slows down or steps back, how would the show evolve? Would Consuelos remain a co-host, move into a solo hosting capacity, or shift the show toward a new format? Ripa's potential retirement does not simply a personnel change. It would be a cultural moment for daytime television, prompting shifts in branding, audience expectations, and production strategy. Consuelos' experience offers a useful case study in on-the-job learning. Television veterans often recommend mentorship, rehearsal, and incremental exposure as ways to grow into live hosting prominence. Consuelos' path, guest hosting, learning the ropes, then accepting full-time work, mirrors that pathway, but also highlights the limits of casual preparation versus daily rigor. Mentorship from co-hosts, producers, and showrunners could accelerate his development. Moreover, Consuelos himself has the advantage of being a professional actor. His training in performance, timing, and improvisation directly transfers to the host role. With continued practice, many of the small errors he jokes about are likely to diminish. An interesting element in Consuelos' story is audience forgiveness. Live television viewers often tolerate gaffes when the host handles them with charm. The cultural appetite for authenticity, seeing celebrities flub a line and recover, can be significant. Many hosts deliberately incorporate self-deprecating humor into their repertoires, creating an understanding with the audience that mistakes are part of the live experience. For Consuelos, the applause track or social media praise following a successful recovery becomes part of the feedback loop. He can make a mistake and recover with charm.